Greetings, folks. This is vk3sl, and welcome to our test program. A little later start today. Just been to a very inspiring concert, and you just actually heard the music of the artist we heard this afternoon. And Frank and I and our partners went to hear I won't say it's a small scale recital. It was a monumental performance.
A real concert, wasn't it?
It was a real concert. It was marvellous. And that little snippet there was actually a recording of Harold back in the late 60s, early 70s, I think, on the St. Pat's organ. Remarkable. And
sounded good, didn't it?
Oh, amazing. Yeah. So
a lovely reverb church.
Oh, definitely. Yes. Yes.
Love that long reverb.
I know. It's marvellous. St. Pat's organ. Just remarkable. Yeah. Look, the concert was inspiring on so many levels. It was just a monumental occasion, unforgettable, and I look forward to being, a continued involvement.
I'm sure. It's a good scene, isn't it?
It's marvellous. It's a really good. It's an intimate scene, and Harold is now in his 80s, and he's just playing as well as what you've just heard. And he's got a pipe organ in his own backyard cathedral, and a beautiful Stewart piano, and presented a Music for Celebration was the name of the program, and it's number 60. He does these regularly.
I was interested in using the word cathedral. He had tongue in cheek. Without going into any detail, his views on such things as are involved with cathedrals are the same as ours.
Ah, very good. Excellent. Nice to hear. Well, look, it was great. So it's nice to sort of pick up on the inspiration and touch base. And we're already chatting a short time ago in the car, but we're in our respective booths now, and we can reflect on the occasion. So
yes.
So just a quick word. I'm vk3sl, and we're testing, of course, on 160 and on UHF, and also streaming online.
This is vk3jr doing the same thing and having a very enjoyable time.
Yeah, absolutely. So anyhow, how's your hand, Frank?
It's perfect. Don't worry. I'm really sorry. I kind of overreacted, perhaps.
No, not at all.
But it did hurt at the minute.
Oh, of course it did. Poor Frank got his hand. Kate closed the door on Frank's fingers. Oh, poor thing.
Just till caught the end. There's absolutely virtually no sign of it now.
Okay, well, I'm pleased to hear that.
Please impress that on Kate.
Yes, I will do that. Yeah, no broken bones.
no broken anything.
Or bruising.
No broken skin, no broken bones,
Okay.
no bruising, no sign of bruising.
That's good. Yeah, so, look, what to say? How do you encapsulate an event like this? It was, just great music making.
So glad you were able to become involved.
Yeah, total privilege. It was amazing. A visionary artist, someone who sees the big picture, and all of that is incredibly inspiring for me as a musician and as an audience member. It's just great to be in a performance where just real vision, marvelous music, and compelling performance. Just rhythmically, the charge was there, the atmosphere was there. It was, he really was able to channel the spirit of the composers, and we heard quite a lot of Bach. And
more than usual.
Yeah, I understand that from what you're saying, Frank, that usually it's a range of different. Of sort of perhaps more lesser heard composers, perhaps.
He loves his 19th century French people, like Vidor. Vidor is a personification of what he does.
Yeah, and it was interesting to hear Vidor play or work on the piano.
Yes, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Of course, that fascinated him as well.
Yeah.
He played it beautifully, didn't he?
He certainly did. And the piano in question was a Stewart piano, and it has a really larger-than-life sound. In fact, it's probably closest grand piano to the sound of the organ that I've ever heard.
Me too.
And Kate felt the same. So yes, it was just this.
It's accentuated, I think, by that sharp environment.
Yes, indeed. The acoustic is quite reverberant,
yes.
and but very transparent. You could hear all. I mean, I think his objective in creating that space was to make sure that everyone could hear all the elements of the piece.
Yes, that's it. Yes.
And that was very much the case. So. So it was all good. So
very deliberate, because he could have done, curtaining and stuff.
Oh, look, he could have, absolutely. No, it was certainly a part of his concept of creating a performance space that enabled the music to really to be transparent. And so often you lose a lot in these thick textures with this type of music, and when you haven't got a literal cathedral to let the music reverberate, and you need to sort of emulate that in some way. So
certainly very revealing, isn't it?
It is, absolutely. There's no doubt about that. Close quarters too. Yeah. So it was a terrific concert. I'm
glad you both enjoyed it.
Oh, totally. It was great. So I don't know where to go. I don't want to play anything that he played directly because I just think that I don't want to in any way usurp what we've just heard. I think it was really good. But I thought in the spirit of the concert, it might be interesting to hear a transcription of the one of the key pieces was a Toccata and Fugue in F. It's BWV 540.
Yes.
And he actually played this on the it was a transcription of this grand organ work by by Bach, transcribed by Eugene de Albert, who was a prominent pianist and musician in the late 19th century. And he, in the early 1900s, he published these remarkable transcriptions, and we heard a few of them tonight, and we also this afternoon, and also some Shostakovich. We might play some of that too. But I thought it would be interesting to hear that Toccata and Fugue, but played by a string quartet.
Fascinating.
Yeah, so this will sort of reveal a different sort of weighting, different sort of concept of the same piece, but same notes, same idea. And I think Bach was always happy for his music to be reimagined, and
he did so much for it himself.
He did. That was sort of the whole sort of Bach was very much about allowing his music to find its expression in a range of different orchestrations, and he was forever. Oh, the word at the time was parodying the music.
Yes, isn't it funny? It's taken on a different meaning.
It is. It's a different to the way we see parody today, but very often he would reconstitute his music in different settings. Now, so here we have this Toccata and Fugue in F, and it goes for about 10 minutes, but it's really worth a listen, and it's a version for string quartet found online, and I think we'll let this give the audience a chance to hear just the greatness of J.S. Bach's writing, and I think it works very well in the setting as well. So here we go. Slow intro. was the Toccata and Fugue in F BWV 540 and arranged for string quartet. And
Lovely.
Yeah, really effective. Works really well. Bach's music just works. No matter how it's performed, it always reveals something else. And certainly,
Harold said indestructible.
yeah, totally. That's it. It's absolutely the case. So yeah, there we go. That was one of the works we heard this afternoon. So I just thought I'd play a few reimaginings or different contexts to the pieces we heard this afternoon, and just to keep the spirit of the occasion alive, because I tend to let concerts stay present in my imagination, especially an inspiring performance. So that was certainly the case today. So, yeah.
Very good you could come.
Oh, this is great. So thank you so much for making that connection. It was just brilliant. So, yeah, we'll definitely hear more of Harold. And I'm looking forward to sort of meeting up with him again. And we've got to look into this tape situation, because there's quite a bit of material here.
Yes, that was a good touching contact point with Peter Lord, wasn't it?
Yes, it was. And they knew each other, which is rather special too. And I think...
Apparently he played a part in designing Harold's organ.
Yes, apparently so. I mean, I'd love to... Wouldn't have been great if Peter was still alive and we could have found out more. Isn't it ironic that sort of it's only when someone passes away that the full picture, well, you never know the full picture. You get a suggestion of what might have happened. But yeah, another work we heard on the organ was the Fantasia in Fugue in G, BWV 542. This is an epic organ work. It's one of the greats, and it happened to be one of the works that Stokowski rewrote for orchestras.
He did, didn't he?
Yeah, so there's a grand orchestral version of this, and I think it might be nice to sort of celebrate with that one as well. I
think the listener might especially enjoy that as well.
I think so. Certainly this listener.
Well, indeed. I mean, our early evening listener, perhaps.
Yes, absolutely. There's no doubt about that. Okay, so here we go. Fantasia and Fugue in G minor, and I think this is an actual recording with Stokowski, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, it is. So back to the 1950s, I think. I can't get a date stamp on this, but I think it's thereabouts. Let's have a listen. Leopold Stokowski and the Philadelphia Orchestra. That was actually recorded back in the 30s. That's a while ago. And a monumental transcription of the fugue from the Toccata and Fugue in F by Bach.
The really good thing about that is that it makes it easier to sort out the strands having different instruments or instrument groups do each one.
Yes, indeed it is. It is. It sort of adds a different type of transparency. We get a sort of textual illumination there by having...
It's a highlighting, isn't
Yes, it is. And I love his vision. It's so grand and so larger than life and major forces. And you can tell that Stokowski was an organist himself because he's basically channeling the spirit of the organ itself through the orchestra.
The power and the majesty of it.
Yeah, totally. That Protean spirit. It's just incredible. It's just all there. And those transcriptions really... they do it for me. I think they're amazing. But there's a lot of that this afternoon. The concepts were just brilliant. Big, huge, mega realizations. Yeah. So there's all sorts of things. I actually had a quick word to Harold, and I mentioned the music of Emmanuel Moore, which he wasn't aware of. So maybe that's a topic to bring up with him. But Emmanuel Moore, the Hungarian composer, developed the Moore duplex piano. It was a piano which had two sets of two keyboards and had a coupling, so you could get those
two manuals.
Two manuals. So you got those pedal points, and there's only a few in existence. I actually did a program on the Moore duplex a while ago, and we sort of looked at what I think the one or two remaining instruments, and there's some examples. But I'll play just one from way back. This is from 1928, and it features Winifred Christie, who was Emmanuel Moore's wife. She outlived him by a long spell. He died pretty early on, but she lived until the 60s, and she recorded this in 1928. But it's the famed Toccata and Fugue in D minor, but played on this remarkable piano, which had two sets of strings. It was a larger-than-life instrument.
Oh, boy.
And again, like so many these sort of visionary arrangers, transcribers, they wanted to bring out the notion of a pipe organ through a grand piano.
Yeah.
So,
well, Harold would have loved that.
Yeah, I think so. So we'll play.
Well, he's trying to.
Yeah, well, very much so. So yeah, we'll have a listen to this. It's it will all recognise this tune, but just listen to the density, and though it's a very early recording, you'll get a sense of the totality of it all. So there's a bit of a lead into this. It features the Bechstein Moore Duplex Grand, and I think there's only a few in existence. And here we have Winifred Christie. Well, that was a rather unusual recording featuring the duplex piano, the Moore duplex piano, an invention of Emmanuel Moore, and that was performed by his wife Winifred Christie in 1928. Fortunately, that was off the I think it had been transcribed off an acoustic gramophone. So there are better recordings of that around.
Sounds pretty good though.
Yeah, still was fine, and you don't quite get the depth charge that you would get in a real concert with. I mean, I imagine that would be just ground shaking, that octave coupling in the lower registers.
Brilliant, wasn't it?
But yeah, the effect was there, but I have to say I was very, very impressed with the Stewart piano we heard today.
Yes, yes.
And its transparency in the lower octave is something to behold.
With your power too, isn't it?
Incredible power, incredible attack, and just resonance. And
Lovely sustain, yes.
yes, it's quite extraordinary. I'd never heard one live before, and I was just blown out of the water by the sound of that instrument. Very interesting. It's a patented system of, I think it's to do with the resonator. Where the string resonates, there's a little bridge, and the bridge allows for a more effective horizontal resonator. I think there's sort of a pinched effect that happens on most pianos at those nexus.
It chokes off some of
Yes, it does, and you lose some of the resonance. And the genius behind the Stewart instruments is that they were able to allow a more natural resonance to occur by adapting the bridge. So, yeah, it was amazing.
Harold did explain it one year.
Oh, did he really? It would have been interesting to hear him explain
Yeah,
it.
I can't quite remember. It's along the lines of what you were saying.
Sure, I'd love to hear him describe it, because it's a mechanical marvel, those instruments, and there's not many around. And they're an Australian invention.
Yeah, yes.
I think it's Newcastle. I think.
Yes, you're right.
Yeah, but and sadly, Kate was saying, why don't they have one at the Conservatorium? But I have a feeling the Conservatorium probably have some contract with Steinway or something, and that's the beginning and the end of it.
What did Kate think of it?
Oh, she loved it. Absolutely loved it. Yeah, we've just been waxing lyrical all the way home.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was great to hear. But interesting to hear other concepts of Bach played on the piano, and I suppose pipe organs were few and far between, and people these transcriptions were around to enable people to experience it in a more intimate setting, I suppose. Now, that instrument we just heard before, the double keyboard, this duplex piano, is there's a little, very short doco on this, and it only goes for a few minutes, but it's worth hearing. We played it in one of our early emissions, but it really does tell the tale and explains the system. And I think there's only a handful of these pianos around, but they are most interesting, and it was particularly designed to play the music of Bach.
I'm Christopher Taylor, and I'm here today to introduce a unique instrument that I've been playing for the past several years. It is a Steinway two-keyboard piano. This type of piano was invented by a man named Emanuel Moore, who was a composer and an eccentric tinkerer. Around 1900 or so, he developed this idea that it would be great to have a piano that had two keyboards in the style of some of the old harpsichords and organs, and yet had the piano sound and was constructed for the most part like a normal piano. I think probably about 100 of them were built ultimately between the years about, I think, maybe 1910 and 1935. But only one was ever built by Steinway, and that is this instrument. It was built in 1929 and was commissioned by a music hall in Berlin, but it was damaged during World War II, and it ultimately made its way to New York for repairs at the Steinway factory there. And then my predecessor at the University of Wisconsin, Gunnar Johansson, got wind of the instrument's existence and managed to find a sponsor to buy it for him. What's very clever about this instrument is that to a large extent, it is a normal piano, and so its strings are normal, and it has normal hammers and dampers, and sort of everything from this level up is pretty much a typical piano. But then from this level downwards, obviously things are a little different. The two keyboards are coupled in such a way that two different keys control a single hammer. So, for instance, middle C, this key right here controls the hammer that's right over there. But then there's another key that controls that same hammer, which is this on the upper keyboard down here. So they're actually, they look like they're an octave apart, but they're actually the same note. And because of the octave displacement between the two keyboards, you can reach these amazing large intervals just with one hand. Starting here, you can get an octave just nice and easy with, with your thumb and your second finger there. But then you can start spreading it out. You get easy tenths and twelfths and 15ths, double octaves like that. And I don't know if anyone has ever lived who can reach that interval on a regular keyboard. So it's very satisfying being able to reach a big interval like that, sort of a dream come true, really. One of the special features on this instrument is the fourth pedal. A typical piano has three, but this one has a bonus pedal. The purpose of it is that it's a coupling pedal, so in effect, it sort of links together the two keyboards simultaneously. Well, when you put this pedal down, you hit a single key on the lower keyboard, and you not only get the note that you would normally expect, so middle C, but then you also get the note that's an octave off to the right. It enables you to do two notes for the price of one. So I'm playing a single note, but I'm hearing an octave, and that's because both hammers are being activated by this single key. And so you can get some pretty impressive sounding effects with that, you know, the world's easiest octaves, really. So, you know, and if I tried to do that on a regular piano, you know, it's a real struggle. You know, that's no fun at all. But this is, you know, really a cakewalk. Pianists have learned over the past 100+ years how to negotiate those on a single keyboard, but it can be a quite complicated and difficult business because frequently the variations that are intended for two keyboards, the hands are crossing each other all the time, and you know, they get really tangled up with each other when you're playing them on a single keyboard. So, for instance, the fifth Goldberg variation is a good example of this. So if I play it on a single keyboard, as you can see, it's quite a bit of choreography. But when you do it on two keyboards, it becomes much simpler. So.
Okay, I was hoping we'd hear more, but yeah, quite compelling and interesting to hear about the duplex piano and its applications.
That's really interesting. I had the wrong idea. I pictured two sets of strings.
Right. I thought so too, to be honest. I always imagined it was two sets of strings, but not the case. Interesting.
Not at all, but gee, it's making great use of the one set, isn't it?
Yeah, certainly is. A really innovative concept there. I was looking online, and there are Beckstein instruments. There's a handful of them still around. They sort of have a niche interest, so it's certainly a good topic for further investigation, I think.
I'm sure Harold will look into that.
Yeah, so...
next time I speak to him, I'll ask him if he has.
Sure. No, it'd be good to chat with him about it, and I'm sure he's well versed with all of the different ways of bringing Bach to the fore.
Wasn't there another instrument called the pedal piano?
Pedal piano. Interesting. I'll look it up.
I'm not too sure about it, except that I think you could pluck notes with your feet.
Oh.
Play notes with your feet.
Sure, pedal piano. I'll look it up now. See what we can find. Let's see. It's mainly what I see when I look it up. I just get articles about pedaling.
Oh, yes.
I'd be very interested to know any adaptation of the conventional piano.
Could be mistaken.
I'm sure there is. I would have no doubt at all that there's a. I do have a CD of special pianistic transcriptions of Bach's music, but unusual transcriptions.
Really?
Yeah, it's a Naxos CD, and I will see if I can find it and sort of illuminate the topic. We could make a Friday night program out of it.
Fascinating.
Perhaps. Yeah. There was an aria played by Casals, which has that wonderful sort of that rhapsodic flair. I think this is the recording. I'm not sure. I just sort of found it at the last minute, but it's from the Pastoral in F major. But I think what he does on the cello here, if I'm not mistaken, if this is the recording I'm thinking of, it's got great, incredible power for those wonderful melismatic flares that's so characteristic of the of Bach's Fantasia writing for solo cello. So this is a late recording of Casals. I think it's recorded in the 50s, so he's in his 80s here. But just check in and see if this is the one. thought that was divine. Wow, I'd never heard that. That's something else. Wow, I'm blown away. There we go. That's the sort of cello playing I really like. It speaks, it has diction, it has this wonderful aspirational quality to it.
Beautiful.
He had a rough edge when he was older, but it didn't matter at all. Wow, I can't find the one I was after, but I will save it and we'll play it on a late night program. But that was a really lovely excursion. It's a new one for me. I had never heard that.
Lovely. I've never heard it either.
Yeah, it's just beautiful, just absolutely beautiful. Well, Frank, I'm thinking before we finish, it'd be really lovely to hear the story of the Shostakovich. Howard told the story today, but you were as much in the conversation because you've got the story. And we heard today the Toccata and Fugue number 22 from Shostakovich, but it's a beautiful story, and I can just quickly dial it up with the recording with Tatiana
Nikolaeva.
Yeah, it's here. It's online. Here it is. I found it.
Beautiful.
Yeah, do you want to give us the blurb?
Oh, all right, just very briefly.
Yeah.
I actually was the first one to tell it to Harold.
Oh, right. Very good. Oh, it's great. You brought it to his attention.
I think I did.
Yeah, great. That's fabulous.
There was what was the anniversary? It was
I think it was the 200th anniversary.
200th anniversary of Bach's death.
Yeah, that's
in
correct.
1950.
That's right.
Well, I get the feedies. There we go.
Yeah.
And in Russia, they had a national competition, and one of the entrants was a young woman called Tatiana Nikolaeva, and they asked her to play one of the 48 Bach preludes and fugues, and she said, "Well, which one would you like me to play?" And they said, "Well, you know, the one you know." And she said, "I know them all."
That's fabulous.
and I think they actually got her to play them all to show that she did.
Wow.
And which would at least play parts of them.
Yes, just to prove the point.
And she played them all from memory. And it turned out that she won the competition. And one of the judges was Shostakovich. He was mightily impressed with this, and he later on was speaking to her, and she was telling him she was really loved the 48 preludes and fugues, and she thought that he should write a series of preludes and fugues, not in the same manner, but at least with the same idea of the different keys. Sure. as the 48 are, and he thought about it for a while, and eventually he did. And all works of note had to be submitted to the Russian the powers that be in music in those days, before they could be released to the public to see that they were
the Department
suitably
of Socialist Realism,
in keeping with the with the wishes of the government, so to speak.
Yeah.
And so Shostakovich went along and played them, and unfortunately they gave him the thumbs down, and they said, "No, this is not true communism. This is not the work of the people." And that would have been the end of it, except that Tatiana was able to get another go at them with these judges who condemned it, and she played it to them, and for reasons unknown, maybe it was her female charm, or maybe she even played it better than Shostakovich did. But they were quite happy with letting it go through to the general public this time, and that's how we inherited these lovely. There are 24 of them. Preludes and fugues by Shostakovich.
Oh, it's fabulous. It's a great story. I love it. It's great. And she ended up recording them more than once. And so I thought we'd play the recording of we heard today. I mean, this is the only piece that we heard today direct that I'll play because I think it's nice to sort of preserve the spirit of the real performance in our minds and not sort of corrupt it with other versions of the pieces. But this one I will play because it's fabulous. It's a beautiful work. And a toccata and fugue in F, BWV. Prelude and Fugue number 2, not toccata. Prelude and Fugue number 22, and written in 1950 to 51 by Shostakovich. So this we did hear this afternoon, but this is rather special, this performance, because it's with Tatiana Nikolaeva. Is that right? That's how you say it?
Nikolaeva, I think.
Nikolaeva. Yeah. So let's have a listen to this.
This is the one to have. This is the truly authentic. This is a series I've got, and I think it's the go-to version of it.
Thank you, Frank. That's brilliant. All right. Well, let's have a listen. there we go. That was the Prelude Fugue, number 22. And, it was G minor. It was the one we heard in G minor? I think it was.
That was in F, wasn't it?
I thought it was, but it's number 22 here. That was the one we heard, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, anyhow.
I love the fugue. I love the way it wanders from key to key.
Yes, it does. It meanders.
Meanders, that's the word I'm looking for.
Yeah, it has this sort of slightly unsettled feel, which I really relate to. It's marvellous. Well, Frank, there's another program, another Friday night. We have done them in the past on a Friday night, but we'll do it again, and we'll sort of look at these more closely. It's beautiful music. And a warm hello to Wayne, who's listening in. So, I realise I've got to go because we're supposed to be going out.
Yeah, I know.
Yes, I'm late. I didn't realise. And Kate's
actually go and eat too.
Yeah, Kate's inside practising Preludes and Fugues, and she's up to the one number 16, which is the one we heard today.
Yeah.
So it's funny that she's doing one a day, and she's up to that one.
Well, it was lovely to meet Kate today. I really haven't, had much to do with her, and it's lovely to have all that lovely contact. And Kathy was very thrilled to meet you both as well.
Oh, thank you. And it was lovely to catch up. It was great. It was a fabulous occasion and very inspiring. And I love hearing music making of that ilk. And, great, real visionary playing. It's just tremendous. So thanks, listeners, for being a part of it, too. Because we've sort of
enjoyed it.
Yeah, we've sort of had a bit of a post-concert.
A bit self-indulgent today.
Well, it's okay, but post-concert postlude, and we've sort of looked at a lot of the music we actually heard today. We've heard it in a different guise, so it's nice to celebrate the fact. And I'll finish up with the original version of the Siciliano from the Flute Sonata BWV 1031.
Yeah. Did you hear the lovely flute stop?
I did on the organ. It was marvellous. It was
wasn't it?
It was really beautiful. Yeah, very wonderful, clean sound.
Yeah.
And I love the way organs have that diction. There's a wonderful sort of eloquence in the way that the sound sort of enunciates.
Yep.
Yeah, I think this is in the right spot. If it's not, we'll just let it ride. And we look forward to your company tomorrow. In fact, I'll be back on board tomorrow. I should be here tomorrow. So thank you, Frank.
Thank you, Steve.
It's been great. Thank you, listeners. Much appreciated. You being a part of it as well. And we'll have more music for sure. Cheers for now.
K3JR going to listening.
And vk3sl saying cheerio.